From Houston, Texas, my father wrote me a postcard for my first Christmas in America and told me the best thing Diamonddale could offer us as a welcome gift to America was my going to college. I accepted his words and understood my own blessings. I was a teenage refugee who could immediately go to college and did not have to work in a factory like my mother, or in a restaurant like beautiful Simone, who had run away on a bus to consummate a loveless marriage to some American man. Who knew what had happened to her since? She had not written me that first year. In that state of mind, I had no desire to socialize during my freshman year. I stayed away from American classmates and had no friends. I didn't even care to join the Vietnamese Student Association, called the VSA by its members. In fact, I deliberately stayed away from the VSA and its crowd on campus. I wanted badly to forget the fall of Saigon. I considered myself born 17, without a past. The denial was part of my vow of rebirth. The crazy man changed all that. It was because of him that I decided to join the VSA in the fall of 1976. I could have attributed this decision to Dr. Joseph Morgan's journalism class. Dr. Morgan had assigned me to a beat, foreign students on campus. He had seen the crazy man and encouraged me to write about the guru. I could have said no. I could have picked a different topic and justified my choice to the liberal-minded, easygoing professor. I could pretend I had forgotten the fall of Saigon, but I could not be dishonest to myself and deny one obvious fact. The crazy man had more than invoked my curiosity. His face had become the focus of my life. By the third week of the fall semester of 1976, I broke out of my shell and contacted the president of the VSA, an engineering student named Vu. I wanted to pay the association dues with my scholarship money. A week later, I found myself attending the VSA's monthly meeting at Denny's, where Vu worked as a late-night waiter. Vu had invited me to the meeting to welcome me as a new, dues-paying VSA member. Vu called the meeting the Decompression Hour, where the Vietnamese students of SISU congregated and chit-chatted about campus life. I sat among Vietnamese engineering and accounting majors, my arms crossed tightly in front of my chest. I sipped at a glass of iced water and asked careful questions, which provoked all kinds of rumors about the crazy man. All the details of the man's life and family background were tossed around among the handful of VSA members at Denny's that night. When the evening was over, I knew all there was to know about the crazy man. I had my story for Dr. Morgan's journalism writing lab. Deep down inside, I knew I had a personal interest in his story, all beyond the journalism class. During that semester, there was never a day when I did not think about the crazy man. The night seemed to last forever in my dormitory room in Smith Hall. I went on with my dry, purely factual writing. I had no typewriter with me, so I wrote on a yellow pad while playing contortionist on my bed. Words poured out relentlessly on my yellow pad. They were no longer about me, all about the crazy man, nothing emotional there either. To help me write, I created a film screen in my head, on which appeared the images I wanted to describe. Appearing on the screen was a 27-year-old Asian version of Sidney Poitier, an eloquent, charismatic PhD candidate in the political science department, who, like the rest of the Vietnamese students at SISU, was cut off from financial support when Saigon fell. In April 1975, the world knew the North Vietnamese had defeated a great power, the United States of America. South Vietnam disappeared on the world's map, since only one unified Vietnam existed from then on. Many people saluted the people of Vietnam for their victory. Others turned away in shame. The SISU Vietnamese students all cried over news stories showing a panic-stricken Saigon with its flow of refugees climbing onto the last helicopter atop the U.S. Embassy. There were Vietnamese students who went into shock and skipped classes. Professors excused their absences and sympathetically avoided the topic of Vietnam when the Vietnamese students resumed classes. The Vietnamese students shared one thing in common. They were all too pained by their own problems to remember the then president of their association, until he became the crazy man. I contorted myself on my narrow bed in Smith Hall to project all angles of what happened onto the film screen in my head. At Denny's earlier that night, the VSA members had filled me in on the crazy man's North Vietnamese revolutionary family. His father, a national hero in the resistance movement against French colonists, led Viet Minh troops that hauled cannons up the hills of Dien Bien Phu. Hell in a small place, I wrote, and on the film screen of